Hello and welcome. Hope you're feeling epic, revved up and ready to set a new PB or two, on your daily runs. I was literally buzzing when I got back from my run this morning. The weather was glorious, and apart from the occasional gust of wind, it was warm, dry, and the perfect setting for a new 10k personal best. So I was thinking, you know that unmistakable feeling you get when you finished a run? You're hyped up and ready to tell the world about what happened, only you get back and no one's in. That can only mean one thing for me: getting some hot thoughts onto the word processor and letting Lils do her magic, creating a script for a new video. So this video is a result of the euphoria that I felt when finishing my run. And like Lily always says, you never know where that's going to lead me, That could be anything. So naturally, given the last 2 hours have provided me with such a great view of the world, I thought let's talk about getting fit when you're older. Now, I know that's a strange thing to kind of like talk about. I must say though, before we kick off, this is going to be a slightly longer video than normal, and as a result, I'll be taking like a drink every now and again to wet my mouth. When I'm talking a lot, my mouth gets quite dry. So this is going to be a motivational discussion. Mainly because I read on the government statistics page that about 25% of the people that live in the UK are actually 50 plus. And the reason why that's important is because when I'm out running, I rarely see anyone that's older than me. I mean, I actually saw someone out running the other day that was older than me, but that I was actually driving then. But I know that obviously means that person is actually out and about, but I never see anyone that's older than me when I'm out running. Not even walkers. Oh, when I say walkers, I mean people that walk daily for exercise. Oh, and if you're wondering about that 25% statistic, I'll leave a link in the description with that statistic. As we've found out, there's 25% of people that live in the UK, they're over 50 plus, and I never see any of them running. Well, I know I'm not going to see millions, but if you think there's 100,000 or 120,000 people that live in Colchester, and use that statistic just for Colchester, there's going to be 25,000 minimum people over 50. So, to my mind, that's an awful lot of people not exercising. And before you go saying, what about the gym? They're not there too, because, I visit the gym all the time, to help me core and that. So, why no older runners? It makes it even less unexplainable when you think about running as an actual exercise. It's completely free. Well, outside of buying your kit. I mean, even if you want to buy a decent pair of running shoes, you can get them for £120, and then your kit may be maximum, I don't know, what would we say, 50 quid. So, it is virtually a free sport. It's also been shown by many peer-reviewed studies to reduce the risk of cancer, prevent disease and death from Alzheimer's, which is primarily why I run. It reduces the risk of heart disease. It's also good for your joints. It makes you happy, and also provides an extended period of me time. Running, for me, it gives me a sense of joy that's probably indescribable to a non-runner. And this is what all, them 25,000 people that live in Colchester are missing out on. Now, obviously I'm not that foolish. I realise that running can be a challenge as you get older. I mean, for those of you, that watch my videos regularly, you know that I've had my own issues to combat, with my knees and calf problems, and all that. But so long as, you have a base level of fitness and are in general good health, I believe everyone can run. Regardless of age. And yeah, I'm talking to anyone that's watching this that's 50, 60 or even 70. As I've said in many of my videos, if an 18 stone former HGV driver can do it, there's no excuse for you. It's my firm belief that there are actually no older runners, comparatively speaking, because of self-doubt and the myth that when you're old you can't run. Now, I'll go as far to say that I'll stake my reputation on saying it's more than possible for anyone, regardless of fitness, even if you've neither walked nor run for decades. If you've got a positive attitude, you can progress to running, 10k every other day within a single year. That's how, utterly amazing our bodies are. Every year, I go from being completely unfit, say, from November to December, starting running in January, and by August, or even before that sometimes, I can run 50k. Now, that's how amazing our bodies are. But it has to be done slowly, progressively, and one of my actual favourite expressions that I use all the time is slow improvements mean less injuries. And with the right advice, you can remain injury free, which I assume is another reason why I never see older, runners out there, for fear of injury. There are existing methods out there that appear to work well. For example, the methadone method, but I prefer to use a slightly different method of training that still removes the risk or lessens the risk of an injury. So, if this is your first visit to the channel, if I'm fortunate enough to still have your attention, you might be wondering at this point what qualifications I have, to give advice on getting fit. Well, I have actually got nothing on paper, but I have spent the last 5 years running every other day, and 6 years ago I was given 7 years to live. I actually have dementia, hence the channel name, The Demented Runner. And since adopting my method of training, the progression of the disease, touch wood, seems to have stopped. I still have several mental weaknesses, but instead of being at death's door, like I should be right now, I feel utterly amazing. Now take that in for a minute. Now, all because I discovered the joy of running and what it can do to promote great health. So what is my method? Well, I base all of my efforts on heart rate, not the lower number as with the methadone method, but rather the point you reach when you become breathless or when your legs become, fatigued. likewise, in between running, I use heart rate too, which is the point when you've rested for long enough and when your heart returns to a lower BPM, beats per minute. This method works regardless of your level of fitness and applies as equally to fast walking as it does once you progress to slow jogging, running or even sprinting. These levels are called heart rate zones, and there are 5 zones. More on that later. For now, I want to really concentrate on getting started. And for the rest of this, I'm assuming that you've not fast walked for longer than 10 years. So, step 1 actually is the hardest step of all, and this is where most people fail. And you'll be surprised to know that it's actually the easiest step and takes no physical effort. The first step is a mental one, and if I had £1 for every person that promised they'd start but never did, I'd be a millionaire. If you're one of them people that actually does take that first step, this will make you a very rare person. One of those very few who decided to ignore those doubting thoughts giving you any number of, reasons why running is a bad idea. I know this because I was actually like that myself when I first started. Honestly, I used to really worry about what people would think. Worried that they'd laugh about, the fat guy running by. I also, another weird thing as well, I also used to worry about how I looked. I mean, when I first started running, after I've been running for about 6 months, I actually spent quite a lot of money on running kit and stuff. There was actually some things I wouldn't wear because I felt embarrassed, about what I'd look like when I was running it, like me, what I call me racing shirt. That's just comes around here, But anyway, that's I don't actually feel like conscious, of what I look like anymore. I'll wear anything. If I was dead, I'd probably go out and run in my pants. And again, because I think it was because I never saw other runners my age wearing that type of gear, I assumed, I'd look weird. So now, obviously, I couldn't care less. And if I see people laughing, I just think, if you can do better, race me. The funny thing is, you'll only ever get that kind of reaction from people sat in a car. Those that haven't run or even walked since they were at school. But more importantly, you'll never get a negative reaction from other runners or people that take a daily walk for exercise. If anything, and I get this quite a lot myself, younger runners will encourage and congratulate you. And what did those 2 young lads say to me the other day when I went out on Saturday, I think it was? Oh yeah, they said, keep it up. Give me a thumbs up on that. As they, blasted past me. Getting out the door, that hardest step. My advice is, set a date in the short term. For example, say to yourself, on Monday I'm going to start, and on Monday get dressed and go, like I said. Your immediate goal isn't to run, it's to progress slowly, to get the heart beating a little faster than it used to. I mean, I'm not asking anyone to go out there, on day 1 sprint. That'd be, ridiculous. It would probably, make yourself ill. So yeah, just walk to start with. Try it, and then once you've done that, try that for a couple of weeks. Go out twice per week as well. See how you get on. And once you feel like you can move a little faster, try that too. The goal is to get fit at your level. And whereas you might not have walked for exercise in many years, surprisingly, before long, you'll find you'll be walking a couple of miles, and you know, that's a fantastic start. Excellent, actually. And you know, if you manage that, you should be really proud. Which actually reminds me, actually, when I first started, after I'd like gone past like the stage of walking and that, and I was, you know, jogging, I remember feeling of elation that I felt when I actually managed to run 1 mile. Oh, that was a great feeling. I think actually you get more kind of like great buzzers from like running 1 mile or 1 kilometre or 2 kilometres or anything like that than you do when you actually manage to run for 10 miles. You know, yeah, that's great. So anyway, the stages are basically, there's 6 of them. Slow walking, fast walking, slow jogging, slow running, intermediate running, and running. And so the goal for you is to progress through these levels at a pace that's completely comfortable for you. And I'll return to these goals later on to show how progress is made and how you'll become fitter using them. You should push yourself so that breathing is slightly laboured, but not to the point of exhaustion, and the same applies, you know, to your legs. Use enough effort to develop strength, but not so far as to cause, you know, like a muscle strain, or you know, injuries are a no-no. So your goal, which up to this point I've not mentioned, is to travel for a set distance. You decide on how far that is, and at this stage, how you get there and at what speed is up to you, you know, completely. But from day 2, you need to travel just a little bit further each time you go out. You know, whether or not, if that's like, I don't know, 50 foot more or 100 foot more, you know, just that little bit more. So each time, you know, you're going out a little bit further. There's also 3 very important rules that you must use throughout throughout this like running journey, especially if you want to succeed and remain injury free. Remember, slow improvements mean less injuries. Rule number 1 is only increase distance or speed by 10% per week, absolute maximum. Rule 2 is only work on distance or speed, never both. And rule 3, always allow your body to recover in between, you know, exercises and while exercising. More on this in a minute. So at this point, I need to discuss heart rate zones. To begin, you'll need your maximum heart rate, which you can find really easily by subtracting your age from 220. You'll need this figure because it's used to determine heart rate zones. There are 5 heart rate zones. Zone 1 is your resting heart rate, or approximately 50 to 60% of your maximum heart rate. So say if you're 50, your maximum heart rate will be 170, and say 50% of that would be what, 80? What was it? What did I say? 150. 170 divided by 2. It's 85, isn't it? So yeah. So zone 1 will be 85. Yeah, and that's when you're not doing much. Zone 2 is basically easy exercise, or approximately 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate, and this is where you should be when you're warming up. So wherever you start from, you do like 15 to 20 minutes of exercise with your heart rate at 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. So how would that work out with if you're 50? So we said what? It's 170, 60% of 170. I haven't got a clue. I'll edit that and add it in a minute. Yeah, that's where you should be warming up, basically, in zone 2. I don't actually promote or advise stretching for older runners. Rather, you should walk for approximately 15 to 20 minutes in zone 2 before moving to zone 3. Now, zone 3 is the area where aerobic capacity is developed. Zone 3 is 70 to 80% of maximum heart rate, and it's within this zone that you'll be performing the majority of your exercise. I don't know if you've watched any of my other videos, but when I say aerobic capacity, this is regarding, what do you call it, VO2 max. So you'll be pushing that up, and I'll talk a little bit about that right at the end of the video. While you're exercising, you will notice though, at some undefined time during your exercise in zone 3, you'll either become overly breathless or your legs will become overly fatigued. This will likely mean you've entered into zone 4, or 80 to 90% of your maximum heart rate, at which point you must slow down and wait until your heart rate basically goes down to zone 2 again. And then when it does, you exercise again in zone 3. Regardless how fit you become and how quickly you're travelling, your desired distance, try to remain in zone 3. This is optimum. And how effective you are at remaining in zone 3 will directly correlate to the time it takes to travel your desired distance. So if you manage to, say you set your desired distance as, say, like 2 miles or whatever, if you can manage all that in zone 3, you'll get there really quickly. But as you'll find out, it's actually harder than it looks. I have actually made like a quick diagram. This diagram provides a visual representation of how I train, albeit I'm in the running phase. Total beginners should start at a slow walk, progressing to the slow run phase, with fast walking and slow jogging in the middle. Things to note is zone 2, 3 and 4 are in the colours. When you first go out, what will happen is you'll be slow walking. This is from like the second day. Someone that's not walked like for years. So you started on your slow walk, and as I said, zone 3 is where the majority of the exercise is going to take place. So even slow walking, you're going to be pushing yourself a little bit, and eventually you'll get into zone 4 where you get out of breath. And once you get out of breath here, you slot back into zone 2 again for a short while, and then when your breath returns so that it drops just below zone 3 into zone 2, then you start walking again in zone 3. So that's that on its own. Now all the other ones are slightly different. So say you're now fast walking, what you do is obviously you warm up first of all in zone 2, and then you go to zone 3 heart rate, you know, and you push yourself a little bit, and when you're eventually your heart rate goes into zone 4, you slow down into zone 2, but this time you're actually going to go into slow walking into zone 3 instead. Yeah, so you go from a fast walk and you slow down and go into, sorry, you go from fast walk into slow walk, and then when your heart rate returns to zone 2, you then go back into fast walking again, so on and so forth. And the same applies to slow jog. So you warm up in zone 2, you slow jog for as long as you can, and when your heart rate reaches zone 4, you then go back into fast walking. Yeah, I hope you get that. And then when your heart rate reaches zone 2, that you go back into slow jogging again, and so on and so forth. Same with a slow run. You'll warm up in zone 2, spend the majority of the exercise in zone 3. When you hit zone 4, you then go into a slow jog until your heart rate goes down to zone 2, at which point you start slow running again. So I hope that explains it. It's a bit of a basic kind of like diagram, but I thought, you know, you might benefit from actually seeing a representation of it. So in this part, this is actually my 10 mile route around Colchester. We'll zoom into how I actually do it. Is, let's say I'll start here, yeah. Where is it? Yeah, I start in here. There's actually a car park, and I'll just walk around here, and then I'll start here and run all the way around to here. You see that? But yeah, I basically run all the way. I run for as far as I possibly can on the first go. So and that, I think around about here is 2 miles. So this is about 2.5 miles here, maybe 2.25, something like that. And then from there on. So when I actually first started going out in when was it? At the beginning of February. When I first went out, I got tired here. But you know, crazy, eh? That's how far like I've kind of like developed in just like, you know, 4 weeks. Is it 4 weeks? No, 3 weeks. And then I think I got here, and then it was there, then it was there, and now I'm here. And then obviously now we're actually getting into the phase now where where I'm walking, and I'm walking very fast. And yeah, so I stop here, and then I walk that little bit, and then I run, then I walk a bit, then I think that was a hill there actually. I'm not great on hills. I'm really worried about injuring my knees. So while I'm like getting fit, I sort of like build elevation going into the run over time. You know, I'll start like running up gentle hills, and then, you know, progress later on to more, you know, steeper ones. So that's why you see blue and red. So in the map, every red bit is when I'm running, and every blue bit is where I'm walking or slow jogging. I used to actually go up Mile End Road, but that hill is just like phenomenal. Well, actually, this is the up Turner Road is actually still quite steep. But yeah, well, I hope that kind of like helped, you know, put it in a kind of perspective how I do it. And I mean, if you check back in, say, what is it now, February, March, April, if you check back in April, you'll see a video of me showing you that I'm now able to run that whole way round. Well, hopefully I'll be like, you know, 50k by then. Yeah. So anyway, I hope that helped. Yeah, I'll pass you back to Lee now. So that's pretty much the mechanics of how to get fit. But it's also important to remember that our goal is to get fit in the fastest way possible, but without sustaining any injuries. So again, just wanted to highlight the remembering the rules. I know no one likes rules, but these are easy rules, and you know they're there really to help protect you. They're there really to promote fitness, but not at the expense of hurting yourself. So rule number 1, only increase distance or speed by 10% per week. Rule number 2, only work on distance or speed, never both. Always allow your body to recover in between. A little bit more on rule 3. I include the words in between because it's as important to rest after a period of exercise in zone 3 as it is to rest after the entire exercise. Typically, if you're new to running, this will mean you should exercise perhaps twice a week, progressing to every other day once you're able to jog comfortably for more than a mile without stopping. And by comfortably, I mean travelling that mile at a pace of around 10 to 11 minutes per mile. So before finishing up, I just wanted to briefly touch upon 2 other important aspects. One that's popular and one that makes a lot of newcomers grimace. I'll look at the least popular first, and it's not popular because to remain fit and gain all the benefits that come from running, you'll need to exercise all year round. So that means, even in the rain and cold. The reason for this is that as an older runner, it's far easier for you to lose fitness than it is to gain it. And as I always say, as older runners, we need to be fit in the winter. Also, because it helps, keep bugs at bay. If you're one of them kind of people that gets like the flu or cold every year, running during the winter will help stop that coming, And if it doesn't stop it, it'll limit how severe that illness is. Sorry, I have to say sorry because I know myself, I don't really like going out that much in the winter, but I still do, unless I get an injury, like happened like earlier this year. Later last year. The only thing is that if you don't keep running during, it actually starts getting a little bit uncomfortable running in late October, November and December and a little bit of January. Yeah, and then just not running for them 3 months means that you'll lose all that benefit of what you gained from running for this year, And I can tell you from experience that it's very frustrating to have to gain fitness again in February. Whereas if you keep going, you can just keep making improvements in February. So On the back of that, I want to talk a little bit about running gear, at least those items that will help reduce the risk of injury and also keep you warm in those colder months. The first item is running shoes. There are several types of shoe available, but for the purpose of this guide I'll mainly be talking about cushion shoes. Cushion shoes are easily distinguishable from other types by their higher stack height. You can see that, like cushioning, that's quite a lot, and also a cushion shoe is more spongy. I mean, these shoes are actually quite old. I actually managed to put 4,000 miles in these, so they've lost like a lot of their sponginess, but these are actually an amazing shoe. I've actually done a guide on these, or a review on how great they are. They kind of like, you know, just stopped me getting injured, definitely. I'll put a link in the description about all this equipment and where you can get it from. I've started shopping in a shop called Start Fitness. They sell, you know, good equipment for less than anywhere else. The other shoe, bad planning again, just 2 seconds and I'll go and get my other shoes. These are my current running shoe, as you can see. Oh, one more thing I wanted to just talk about. With the Novablast, you can see like there's quite a lot of give in that, you know, and the sponginess and that. I'll explain why that's relevant in a minute. Whereas my current running shoe, you can see that the stack height's not, you know, nowhere near as high as the Novablast. There's also less sponginess, and there's not a lot of give in them either. But there is still sufficient sponginess in there to help me a little bit. Yeah, these are a great shoe as well. I really like these. I've done a review on these as well. If you wait until the end, there'll actually come up a review for each shoe. So yeah, in time, your legs and muscles will become stronger, and you might consider a shoe, you know, with less cushioning, but one that adds stability to your running style. And that's why I actually, that's why I use these, because they're a little bit firmer and less give. They keep your foot planted where it should be. You know, they stop like pronation, you know, either like that, and that helps your knees as well. So the reason why I say this is because using cushion shoes, when you're new, means you'll be running slower than you're probably able to. That's because lots of the force that you use to propel yourself down the road is absorbed by the cushion and not used to increase momentum. I can't actually give advice on any other shoe other than the Asics Novablast. They do the 2 and the 3. They're both available. The 2 slightly cheaper than the 3. As these are the only shoes I've used. Both provide amazing cushioning, and they're going to last you a long while as well. And you know, without a doubt, they help limit injuries. The shoes I used before that, you know, I was getting problems with my knees and calves all the time. But as soon as I swapped to the Novablast, I saw a marked difference, you know, as soon as I started using them. Another item you might consider are shock absorbent insoles. These are a godsend as well. These ones, as you can see, are really worn. I used these for like 3 years, maybe 2.5 years. These did 4,000 miles as well. These are actually called the Nitro D30s. These are about £40. But you might consider using these. These are ultimate performance insoles, which are cheaper. These are about £17, I think. And in my opinion, they're just as good as the Nitro D30s. Yeah, so what happens with these is they absorb just a little bit more shock, as you're running. You can limit injuries. Basically, that's what it's for. Finally, just a little, I wanted to touch upon cold weather gear. Make sure you get thermal leggings, vests and socks. These will make an otherwise depressing run much more enjoyable and ensure your fitness remains all year round. That's it pretty much. I really hope that you gain some important knowledge on how as an older runner you can get fit without the worry of sustaining an injury. And who better really to talk about that than an older runner, who has sustained injuries and has done his best over the last 5 years to limit them. And to be honest with you, I think I've done a really good job. I should also say, becoming a runner has not only helped me gain fitness, but I've also been able to sustain the mental deterioration that comes, with the type of dementia I have. And I don't want to sound like depressing, but running, I should be at death's door, I know it sounds horrible to say, really. I can't wait for the 7 years, because then I can actually say in my videos, I was given 7 years to live, and the 7 years have finished and I'm still here. That's good, because, well, do I look like I've got dementia? I know people with dementia don't actually look a certain way, but I like to think, that the running gives me more kind of drive in how I am as a person. But anyway, I could waffle on all day about running, and this video's gone on for quite a while already. If I still have your attention, thank you so much for staying with me. Please don't hesitate to ask questions in the comments below. If you liked the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. I'd say about 80% of my content is older runner specific. If there's anything you want me to even do a video on, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm open to anything. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.